Students, although I have posted several handouts for you on the documented essay, I would like to take the time to go through some of the handouts to make sure you understand what is expected of you in this assignment. So I am going to take you to the assignment and clarify instructions in case you have any questions. Now, the instructions read that this essay is a research paper, which means it is okay for you to use outside sources. However, you are to find credible sources to support your points. And the best place to find those credible sources, if you would look to the left of your Blackboard shell, you will find where it says Library Services. If you click there, you will have access to top databases. There's an area where you will click to find articles. If you will click on one of those and type in your topic for your documented essay, you will find scholarly articles. Please stay away from websites like Wikipedia, and most .com websites are not considered credible sources. Now, remember, your paper should not consist mainly of quoted material. You will argue your position on the topic you're writing about, and you will use your the information from your sources to support the points that you are arguing. So you will simply summarize, paraphrase, or quote information to support the points you have already made in terms of your argument for or against something. Now, too much quoted material is a form of plagiarism, so you want to be careful not to overuse your sources. Now, I posted some notes on your topics and some notes on how to cite your sources, but make sure, and this is probably the most difficult part of the assignment, is that I do want you to try to contain your argument to a 500-word essay. Now, if you like to schedule a conference with me to go over your paper, to look at your argument and your supporting points to see if you have cited sources correctly, please give me a call and I will be more than happy to meet with you during my office hours. And if it's outside of my office hours, you will need to make an appointment. If you cannot come to campus, I am on the Decatur campus, I am more than willing to have a telephone conference with you. But please make sure that you contact me at some point during this assignment to make sure that you are on the right track. Let's go ahead and talk about the assignment and topics. Once again, this is the same length of an essay that you are accustomed to writing in this course. It's 500 words or 5 paragraphs, and your essay should state and defend your position on a debatable issue. Make sure it's a debatable issue. So when you write the introduction, give me some general background on your topic, and in your introduction with your thesis statement. And your thesis statement is also called your position statement. You will state your position without using the pronoun I. This is a research paper, therefore you should not write in first person. So don't say or write, I believe, I think, I feel. In this paper, I will argue. You will simply state your position. Okay? For example, if you were writing on capital punishment, which is one of my forbidden topics, you would say, depending on your position, capital punishment should be banned in the United States. Okay? Or capital punishment should be administered more often than it is in the United States. Okay? You would not say, I believe, or I think, or I feel that capital punishment should be banned. Okay? Now, you will, in the body of your paper, have 2 very strong arguments rooted in logic to support the position that you've taken. You will use your research to support your arguments. So you will incorporate your research in the body of your essay, and you will develop each argument with solid evidence and back it up with examples, statistics, expert testimony from your sources. Now, in one of your paragraphs, or at some point, you need to address a counter argument. As most of you know, the best way to win an argument is to be prepared for what the opposition will throw at you. So you will have a counter argument in your paper, and then you will have a rebuttal to that counter argument. You may say, however, there are many who feel that capital punishment is inhumane. Okay, if you are for capital punishment, and then you will write a response to that counter argument, which is your rebuttal in that paper. In the conclusion, which is the final paragraph, and no need to introduce your conclusion by saying, in this conclusion, or as I conclude, or in conclusion. If it's the last paragraph, then the reader can assume it is your conclusion. You reaffirm your position and the main points that you made to support your position in your conclusion. I'm asking that you use 3 sources. You don't need a whole lot of sources for this length of a paper, okay? You will cite each source within the body of the essay. We call that parenthetical documentation, where in parentheses you will place the author's name and the page number where you got that information. If there is no author's name, then you will use the title of the publication, and sometimes there may not be a page number, but your handbook will help you with this. It shows you examples of how to document sources. So if you'll look under the MLA tab in your writer's reference, you should find information on how to cite different sources. Make sure you use credible sources once again. You can use newspaper articles, magazine articles, journal articles, online journal articles, but do not use Wikipedia, youdebated.com, and other personal websites. These are not credible or scholarly websites. Now, there are some topics I've asked you not to write on: assisted suicide or euthanasia, capital punishment, gun control, abortion, school uniforms, or legalizing marijuana. These are good topics. However, they are overused, and I have just asked that my students, my English 101 students, stay away from these topics and think about something that's going on currently, something that you feel very passionately about. I have given you several suggestions. However, some of you are emailing me with your own topics, and that is perfectly fine for this paper. Okay, in addition to the assignments and the topics, I have posted a sheet on how to cite your sources, and also the page numbers that you can refer to in your writer's reference. Now, if you turn in a paper and there is no parenthetical documentation within the body of your essay, that is an automatic F, because if you use outside sources and you fail to cite your sources, you are guilty of plagiarism. You are taking ownership of that information which you have gotten from a book or a journal or a magazine or a newspaper. So you have to be very careful, as you can see, to, in parentheses, put the author's name, the page number, and then your punctuation mark. Okay? If you state the author's name, for example, if you say, according to Alexandria Marks, you have already given me the author's name, then in parentheses, all you need to do is place the page number and put the period after you close the parentheses. Now, if you have a quote that's 4 or more lines long, it's called a block quote. So you will use a signal phrase to introduce your quote, but the entire quote should be indented because it is so long, okay? With a block quote, you put your period before your documentation. Sometimes students are a little confused if they take the information and put it in their own words. It's called paraphrasing. And although you've put the information in your own words, you still have to give the author credit. So even if you paraphrase it, you have to tell me where you got those ideas. Okay, so you still have to cite the information. So if you have any questions about how to cite your information, please give me a call. I've also posted a rubric. So you can see exactly how your paper will be graded. You will get a grade on the structure or the format of your paper, and I will also give you a grade on the content. So I've broken that down. Make sure you have MLA heading. Make sure that your page numbers are where they're supposed to be, and that you don't manually put these in your paper, because if the page numbers move when I insert comments, then that means you have not formatted your paper correctly. So make sure you follow the instructions that were posted at the beginning of the semester on how to format your essays. When you title your paper, make sure it's not your topic. So if you're writing on capital punishment, your paper will not be titled capital punishment. That is your topic. It is not a title. As you can see, grammar counts a big part. I've been marking grammatical mistakes in your paper all semester. Hopefully you have been reviewing my comments and then going to the writer's reference to see how to correct these mistakes. At this point, I should not see run-on sentences, fragments, subject-verb agreement mistakes, pronoun case errors. I should not see the pronoun you in your paper or contractions. Because this is a research paper, I should not see first-person pronouns. So make sure you proofread your paper carefully when you are going through the revising or the editing stage. Your works cited page, make sure it's in the correct format. And as far as content, I will check to see that you have a strong introduction and a strong thesis statement. I should not read your thesis and not know what your position is. You need to use very strong language in your thesis statement, so there is no doubt what side of the issue, what side you are on in terms of the issue, okay? Each body paragraph should begin with a topic sentence that lets me know what that particular paragraph will be about. I will evaluate your arguments. Are they strong arguments? Are they rooted in logic? Did you support your position with good information from your sources? So make sure you have two strong arguments. Then I will look at your counter argument. Did you address what the opposition may say in response to your arguments? And so did you have a strong rebuttal to the counter argument? Make sure your counter argument sounds like one, or otherwise it will sound as if you have switched positions on that particular issue. I will check to make sure that you have documented your sources in the body of your paper correctly. Remember, in MLA format, we use parenthetical documentation. Parenthetical documentation. And do you have a strong conclusion? So these are the elements I am going to evaluate your paper on. I have posted a sample documented essay and listed some comments. Okay. The heading is correct. The pages are numbered. This person has a title. As you can see in parentheses, they have documented their different sources. And I've highlighted the thesis statement. It's a really strong thesis statement, so I am sure of their position. Each body paragraph begins with the topic sentence, so I know what each body paragraph will be about. And within those body paragraphs, they have documented the sources they've used to support their arguments. Okay, this paragraph consists of the counter argument, and this is their rebuttal to the counter argument. And then they have a conclusion where they restated their thesis and their main points. And then when I look at the works cited page, which has too many sources for this length of paper, but I check to make sure that all of these authors or all of these sources that are on the works cited page are actually cited within the body of the paper. Okay? When you make sure you title your page Works Cited, okay, this page should also be numbered. You should begin each entry with the author's last name followed by a comma, the first name, and a period. Then this is an article, so the title of the article goes into quotation marks. The title of the publication is either underlined or italicized. Okay, and then the publication information is listed, as well as the date that this information was accessed. And then there's a period after each entry. Notice that the second and third line of each entry is indented. These are called hanging indentations. And please make note that the works cited are listed in alphabetical order. So make sure that your works cited page is in the correct format. Now, I've also listed, and I hope this helps you, some common mistakes that people make with this particular writing assignment. So read through this and make sure you avoid the mistakes that I have listed on this handout. Hopefully, you will not duplicate what others have done. If you have any questions or would like to have a conference regarding this assignment, please give me a call as soon as possible, and I'll be more than happy to meet with you. Thank you and good luck, and don't forget the deadline.